While much of the talk around reopening the economy has focused on the economy portion of it, people getting back to work and businesses revving back up, a significant portion of the conversation has been focused around what is going on with kids and schooling. And for the many parents around the country that have been suddenly cast as homeschoolers, this is a big concern for theirs. So joining us now to talk about the future of schooling during this pandemic, where we go from here, we've got Mark Porter McGee, founder and CEO of 50Can and senior fellow at Georgetown University's Future Ed. Mark, welcome to the program.
Thanks, John, for having me.
Glad to have you here. And, I wanted to start off by giving you an opportunity to tell us about the organization and the work that you're currently doing right now.
Thank you. So I play two roles. So one role is I'm the founder and CEO of 50Can, which is short for the 50 State Campaign for Achievement Now. And the basic idea is we want to make it easier for concerned parents and students and citizens to be advocates for a great education for all kids. Mm-hmm. And we think, there's a role for every form of government to play, but 90% of the funding for schools is local. 90% of the big decisions that get made happen at the state or district level. So that's what we're all about, is helping people advocate in their own backyard.
So catch us up a little bit. So obviously, this has been a pretty disruptive couple of months. How disruptive has it been in the short term, and from your view, in the long term, in kids, in terms of kids' education?
So, I think we use the word unprecedented a lot in the past few months, but it really is unprecedented in American education to have 95% of kids being educated in their own home. We haven't seen that in 150 years since the advent of the first public schools. So we're in completely uncharted territory. We went from 5% of kids being homeschooled to 95%. And we did it without any planning. It just all kind of happened. Kids were in school on a Friday. They were not in school on a Monday. There was very little training, very little equipment set up ahead of time. So it's hard to overstate how chaotic it's been.
And so I guess maybe a silver lining is, I know I've seen a little bit of anecdotal evidence that some parents have enjoyed the process of becoming more invested in their kids' education. From your point of view, is it likely that that's probably pretty rare in comparison to parents being overwhelmed and kids potentially being set back quite a bit in their education?
Yeah, I think that's right. Now, it's probably, for most people, not a complete black and white situation. So I think there's a lot of frustrations when we talk to parents and your internet isn't working, or you don't have the equipment, or your kids miss their classmates or their teacher. That can be really hard. Obviously, if you're juggling work where you either need to leave your apartment, which is challenging for what to do with kids, or you need to work at home, that can be hard to juggle. So it's very much an emergency situation. But we know that some kids have really connected in a different way with this work. Parents are obviously having to be brought into their kids' education in a different way, so they're getting a better understanding of how to help their kids. So there's a little bit of a silver lining, but it's definitely a mixed bag.
And you talked about a lot of this policy is set locally. Locally, have you seen much being done to try to catch kids up? Do you have advice on some of the things parents could be advocating for in localities around the country to try to fill this gap that's been created so unexpectedly?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of our advocates very early on were engaged with sort of a hierarchy of needs. So we know a lot of kids get their meals at school. So there was a lot of innovative work done to figure out how to get meals to kids. So there were people set up sites around cities to pick up meals. Districts reuse school buses to bring those meals around. And then lately we've been seeing an innovative approach where we're getting money directly in the hands of parents electronically so they can purchase those meals. So that's been a big push around connectivity, free internet, free devices. You might say that's kind of part of the new package of public education, is your kids deserve to have that connectivity. And then the real challenge has been instruction. So some of the more innovative districts and schools are figuring out a way to provide a whole continuum of learning. So kids can log on and get real-time instruction, live instruction. They're also recording those videos so you can watch them offline. And then there's a whole lot of interactivity in different apps and websites. So that's sort of the continuum. But I think most of us who've looked at this are concluding that right now kids are on average learning less than they would have if they were in school.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.